Okay. So thank you, Lee, for coming. And I do apologize for not meeting you for the last two quarters for our performance review. I do hope you understand that I'm quite busy because of the current workload that I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you so far?
I'm all good. And don't worry, I understand you're very busy, so it's okay if we haven't had the chance to talk recently.
Yeah.
That's okay. I totally understand that. So yeah, I'm okay, and my team is okay as well. It's just that we have been very busy lately because of the projects,
Okay.
that you have given us. But everything's good so far. We are coping really well, and the team is. I'm happy with the performance of everyone in the group.
Okay, that's good to know.
Mm.
For this performance review, perhaps I'll just run through our set of agenda and perhaps the process that we're going to take, and just let me know if you're fine with this.
Sure.
Perhaps you can start with your own self appraisal first with regards to your work for the last year, and we'll look into my own review as well as or coming from the input of others as well as my observation, and perhaps we can do a review together
Okay.
basing on these observations.
Sure.
And lastly, we'll move forward by perhaps doing some plan for the next year in terms of your career direction, also in terms as well as how to improve your performance.
Sure.
Okay. So, how do you think you performed so far this year at this company?
I think I performed well for the past year. Me and my team have taken some projects from you, and I think we have outperformed the other teams. I think from that perspective, I could say that we have really done a great job in the past year. I would actually like to commend my team members because if it's not for them, I don't think we'll be able to be successful for the past year. I think I'd say that my ability to lead the team was reflective of their performance. So I think since I was able to lead them well, it came out in how the entire team performed. We've able to manage all of the projects, complete all the projects on time, and we have really great results. So
Yeah.
that's my myself.
Yeah, well, that's good to
assessment.
know. Yeah, and I do acknowledge in terms of your output as well as dedication as well. And with regards to your performance, I would say there's perhaps you can start with the good points. I would say you've been really creative. You're right. I've noticed that you're able to pull through a very productive and efficient team. You're quite hard worker as well as conscientious for the last year, and I really commend you for that. And
Thank
I
you.
also thank you for your dedication, and the company really acknowledged and valued your performance. Yep. Okay. Let's move on to your perhaps aspiration career-wise. Like, what's your aspiration here in the company?
Yeah. So since right now I'm at the managerial position, I'm probably looking at moving up in the corporate ladder and maybe hold the director position at the regional level. I mean, I've already handled a team here. I've led multiple projects, and it has been successful. So I think I'm ready to take on more challenges if I'll be able to handle more teams and support more groups in terms of encouraging them to be successful. So I think I could step up to that
Well,
challenge.
that's good to know that you have somehow a clear-cut direction in terms of aspiration career-wise. So far, how do you really, what kind of specific work, I mean, do you really appreciate doing here in the company?
So I really like how I'm able to mentor the other managers within my team, the other leaders within my team. I think I really like how I'm able to influence them to become successful in what they do. So
Okay.
a coach and a mentor is something that I am really passionate about. So maybe if I'll be given more of that kind of role, will be a very good fit for me because
Mm-hmm.
I've done similar roles like that before.
Okay, so I noticed you're really keen on terms of that direction, in
Yes.
terms of moving really towards a higher position,
Yeah.
and that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, now perhaps we can move on to some areas of improvement,
Mhm.
basing from what we've observed, as well as what other program managers have given me as an input.
Mhm.
Um, we've noticed that you're a bit uncooperative at times,
Mhm.
especially with other departments.
Mhm.
You remember during that time that there was this one project manager that had a costly mistake
Mhm.
that also impacted with the image of the company.
Mhm.
But I think you could have stepped up during that time
Yeah.
and perhaps avoided that situation. Um, can I perhaps ask what was your intention of not really assisting and helping during the time?
Yeah, I understand, and thank you for bringing that up. It was really a challenging time for me and for my team because at that time we were handling multiple projects.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it's not a good thing to say, but probably my attitude towards that situation was mostly to save my team, and focus on what we need to accomplish versus assisting the other groups with
Mm-hmm.
their problem. So I hate to admit this, but I think I was kind of selfish during that scenario. I only thought about what would be good for me and for my team, and not thinking of how I could have helped the other teams. um but I reflected on that
Yeah.
I reflected on that situation, and I really realized that I could have handled it better, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
I could have handled it by offering my assistance and offering my help instead of attacking them that way.
Yeah, and I think that would somehow connect to your aspiration in terms of
Yes.
really influencing and
Mm-hmm.
how do you say that, guiding
Mm-hmm.
people. I think that could have been a great opportunity for you to harness that
Yes.
skill all the more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Understand.
Okay, so what's your plan perhaps to improve that area?
Mm-hmm. I'll probably um, make sure that I am conscious about my behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I've somewhat done that already by reflecting on the things that I think I didn't do really well. And of course, with your guidance, especially in situations like this where you are able to guide me and coach me on the things that I should be doing and not be doing. So I guess there are two things. So first is I need to realize the things that I should not do,
Mm-hmm.
and be more helpful. And then, of course, I'd also get help from people like you or other mentors within the organization who could help me realize what behaviors I should change in myself.
Okay, that's something good to know. I'll just wrote that down, and perhaps later on we're going to look into this again
Yeah,
as we draft into your plans for next year.
sure.
Another concern that I've noticed somehow is you've been quite selective in terms of accepting assignments.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think you're somehow more um, leaning towards challenging work, and you let go of somehow routinary work.
Mm-hmm.
And I do apologize for not really calling your attention during that time. I know I was able to observe that, but I just let it happen. And but perhaps with more mentoring and coaching, as well as more periodic performance appraisal, we can perhaps improve this kind of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But I would want to know in terms of your intentions of skipping routinary assignments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not really an intention to skip those tasks.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of because my team is, I consider our team high performing.
Mm-hmm.
So my mindset is, we take on tasks that will really challenge us, and push us to our limits, and that might mean that we only want to take on tasks that are challenging, and sometimes administrative tasks are not that challenging for us. But it's good that you brought that to my attention. because sometimes we tend to overlook it because of all the
Yeah.
other things that we are trying to accomplish.
Mhm.
But again, I'll take that to consideration, and we'll make sure that we also assist on all those other tasks and complete other tasks, not just the things that we think are important to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also you have to understand that by giving challenging work to other teams, it also allows them to harness their capabilities. So
That's
it's not
right.
just having a monopoly of experience within your department.
That's
And I
correct.
think that's what I would want to really push through. And I would want somehow that you can be an exemplar among all of the departments,
Mhm.
saying that your team is quite productive, and so those two other teams
Mm-hmm.
should look at you by also accepting bigger roles.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
understand.
So how can we improve this
Yeah.
by next year?
Yeah, sure. I think we'll be able to improve this by two things. I'm thinking of two things right now. One is to list down all of the tasks that my team should be able to accomplish. Either
Okay.
it's administrative or it's related to the project. And of course, the next thing is for us to also allow, for me to allow my team members to extend help to the other groups. So I'll also ask them to reach out to other team members, especially if there are times when they are kind of, free, to reach out to other team members and offer help.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, for the third one, I've noticed that we're having some attendance issue lately. Not necessarily of being absent, but in terms of working at home or working at the agency or somehow sometimes checking out purchase displays. And you do understand our 9 to 5 work policy. Um, how do you think we can solve this issue? I know that you are somehow at some point very much hardworking, especially if you have some work deliverables. But I also understand, and you also have to understand our policy.
Yes.
How do we reconcile this?
Yeah. I actually accommodated that request from my team members because I've seen how they work so hard, and sometimes I feel like I could help them more if I'm able to give them some flexibility, because they, sometimes they even work outside office hours and they
Yeah.
haven't complained about it. And they just asked for some help from me by allowing them to sometimes work from home, and give them some flexibility in their working hours. And I feel that it will really help them if I give that to them. But I also understand that it is a company policy. But I'm hoping that we could put this forward with HR.
Yeah. Yes, I understand also where you're coming from. I know at some point there's also projects that are really quite stressful, and sometimes you have to meet your clients or perhaps attend to some personal work. But aligning with your personal aspirations also, it might be good if you're going to set as an example also, not just within your team but also with other with other divisions.
Yeah.
And having that attendance as an issue would signal a different image with regards to your department.
Yep, I understand.
How do we improve this? I'm thinking of really talking with HR about this concern, but I can't really stress it, and I think it's going to be much better if the arguments will be coming from you.
Yeah. Sure. Yep.
So can you perhaps draft an initial proposal to HR with regards to your arguments and perhaps suggestions?
Yep. Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. Yeah, just really outline your arguments in the proposal in terms of why do we need these kind of flexibilities. HR might not be able to understand where you're coming from, but the moment you present your arguments, perhaps they would appreciate it and start to somehow consider also your what you're saying.
Yep. Sure.
Okay,
I can do that.
that's good. Okay, on the last area that I was able to observe is that you've been quite unstrategic in terms of your selection, specifically with regards to the attending conferences and trainings. Remember those cosmetics and chemicals convention that you've requested last time? I'm not seeing really a direct relationship within your specific area. What was your intention of requesting this convention?
Yeah. Um, while it sounds like it's not directly related, but I think this conference will indirectly help me
Mm-hmm.
in coming up with proposals for for our clients. And then actually, I've been very thankful to the company because I've received a lot of learning opportunities. I've
Mm-hmm.
attended conference, and I think this is also a great opportunity for me. Because even if the cosmetics is not within my product scope, I think I'd be able to get insights from how they do their research methods, and insights from the studies that they've conducted for that line of product. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that line of thinking I could also apply in coming up with proposals for our clients. So it may not directly, if it may not be directly related, but this is definitely something that could help me as well.
Okay, so I was able to somehow get where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you think we can convince the higher management in terms of allowing them to appreciate your line of thinking?
Yeah. So there are two ways that I think we could do it. One is for any individual, or for example, if I'll go to a conference, I could return back to the office and share whatever I've learned to my peers and also
Mm-hmm.
to my team members. So that's our return to the company by not just giving me a learning opportunity, but an opportunity for the other members to learn as well.
Mm-hmm.
Another way I'm thinking is if we're able to share or come up with a presentation or a report or insights that we could share with our customers, that would be very beneficial to their business. I think that's also a plus, and that's going to be very helpful to the company too.
Okay, well, these are good suggestions in terms of
Mm-hmm.
having a report as well as sharing information. But these are not really that quantifiable.
Mm-hmm.
Any idea in terms of how to specifically measure it?
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking two measures actually. First is the completion rate. So
Uh huh.
whoever goes through a conference would have to submit a completion rate. So if it's a 5-day conference, how many days the person has actually completed in that
Mm-hmm.
entire conference. So that's one. Second is maybe a customer satisfaction measure could also be put in place. So we could measure that from our internal customers and from our external customers.
Okay, so these are good measures. I'm also thinking in terms of really um, seeing the direct connection of these conferences to your specific area or
Mm-hmm.
your specific work. I'm thinking of an action plan. Is this
Mm-hmm.
something that you're open of implementing?
Yeah, sure. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially it's because if you're going to have an action plan, I think that will really give me specific measures, I mean areas to measure in terms of whether that conference is worth the investment
Yeah,
because we're able to see results coming
mm-hmm.
from that specific conference.
I understand. Yeah, sure, we could do that. I could do
Uh,
that. I could
okay.
start that.
So can we perhaps start with your cosmetics and chemicals convention?
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So an outline of your action plan in terms
Mm-hmm.
of how to implement your learnings within your area. I'll appreciate to have that kind of plan.
Sure.
Okay,
I'll
that's
have
good.
it ready. Actually, there's one thing that I want to share with you.
Yes.
And I'm not sure if this has reached you, but
Mm-hmm.
during this weekend, I actually wrote a letter for my partner. And I wrote some silly things about,
Mm-hmm.
going to this conference.
Okay.
I wrote words that shouldn't be said by someone like me. I mean, at this
Mm-hmm.
level. Um, I said things like, I have other intentions in attending this conference other than actually learning from this conference. But
Uh-huh.
I don't know what's in my mind during that time, but I just want to assure you that I am keeping my integrity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm keeping my loyalty and integrity to the company. So if I choose to attend this conference, it's actually going to be very, very beneficial for me and the company, and no other reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to assure you that.
Okay, yeah. I think these are the specific instances that I would try to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
I think the action plan as well as those measures in terms of rubrics and all of those reports
Mm-hmm.
mechanism that you've mentioned that would protect the employees in the event that that would happen.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So I think that's something nice that
Okay.
we can think of.
Yep, sure.
And perhaps implement.
Sure.
Okay, that's something nice. Moving forward, so those are the areas that I was able to observe in the last year. For the next year, what are your three key areas that you would want to improve on?
Yeah, sure. So if there are three things, I think first is my ability to build stronger relationships with my peer managers, because lately I've been focusing on my team. So I think it's also a good opportunity for me to also build alliances among my peer managers. So that's one. Second is my ability to communicate effectively among all members of the organization, because I know that sometimes I'm coming across as someone too assertive or aggressive. So I want to change that. I want to be able to communicate effectively even if I'm under pressure.
Okay.
So, and the next thing is my leadership abilities. While I know that I've somewhat helped my team members become successful, but I think there are still areas for improvement in my leadership skills. So I want to improve on that as well.
Okay. So I think these are good action plans or specific areas to work on. Especially, I think these are aligned to your aspirations of really progressing in your career.
Yep.
Yeah. And how do you see that the management can help in this plan of yours?
I'm thinking your assistance, in my entire development journey is definitely something that I need. So if we could have, continuous mentoring sessions like this, then that will be very helpful. Second is if there are learning opportunities like training or conferences that will help me develop the skills that I mentioned earlier, will be very helpful.
Okay.
And if I could also be given some projects or other experiences where I could, hone my skills even further, that would be very helpful as well.
Okay. So I'll look into this. So I'll note this as part of our perhaps things to consider within the management,
Appreciate it.
so that we can also assist you, especially in your desire of progressing. So I'll just perhaps draft a document outlining what we've agreed, and I'll ask you to review it if
Sure.
we're both amenable, and so we'll have it as binding and perhaps visit that again by
Sure.
next year.
Okay.
And I also again would like to apologize that I wasn't able to conduct the last 2 quarters performance appraisal, and I have to raise that to the management as well in terms of how to improve our system.
Yeah.
I know that you've experienced it, that there's a lot of work pressures within our areas of responsibilities, and the management has to also appreciate and understand in terms of how to really deliver our commitments. And I appreciate your understanding in this area, and rest assured that I'm going to raise this concern to the HR as well as the management also.
Okay. Appreciate it.
That's good. So now, the moment the draft is okay and we both agree, we'll have it as binding document, and perhaps we'll see each other again in the next quarter for your next performance appraisal.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank
Yep.
you.
So thank you for your time, Lee. Okay.